Three, two, one. Here we go. I'm going to call this video Change in a Day. Is it possible to change in a day? Very difficult to say. Change in a day. Or do we change at all? So, I'm going to start by saying that I've been looking at change for a while. See what it takes. How does it work? How does the brain work? How does neuroscience affect this? How do we rewire? All that good stuff. Do we go to Landwork? Do we go to Psych? Do we go to Tony Robbins courses? How do we change? So, I'll tell a little story. I knew a man once who cheated on his wife for about 9 years. He had 3 daughters. He was an alcoholic. Failed in his business and everything like that, and that's probably what sent him into that world. But he did it for 9 years. There was a day that came, and his daughter went out on the street, and she found her father. The daughter was about 8 at the time, sitting on a porch, and of course, there was a woman on his lap. The daughter finally turned around, screaming, running down the street, going home, screaming, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy," ran into the house and screamed to her mom what she saw and what she saw about her father and where he was and all that good stuff. The man chased his daughter down, running down the street after him, drunk, stumbling a little bit, ran into the house, and there stood the 3 daughters and the mother starting to cry in tears. And the mother finally looked at her husband and said, "Get out. Get the hell out of our house and get the hell out of our family. Now, I'm sick of sleeping alone. I'm sick of these sleepless nights. I don't know where you are. You drink, you're destroying us, you're destroying our family. It's over. I want you out. I want you gone." In a second, in a moment, in a blink, the man dropped to his knees. He begged his wife and his family for forgiveness. He said he would stop drinking, stop cheating. He would become the greatest man that they've ever met, the best father. Yada, yada, yada. He did it. That day, in 5 seconds, he changed. He ended up going to his spirituality, becoming the leader of that spiritual house in the neighborhood. He started a business again. He became a great father. He did it. And to this day, that couple is married over 32 years. The daughters are full grown. And that man is the mentor for the community. He changed in one day. So, that's one story. Another story is I knew a guy that I actually was in business with at one point. And business reached a certain level. And then the systems and everything started collapsing. What happened? The individual had in his head that no one could do it as good as he could. So he reached a certain limit in his business. He had high turnover. His employees were mismanaged. They were micromanaged. No one could do it as good as I can. I can't trust them. I can't do this. He was working 70, 80 hours a week. And eventually you explode. He managed his wife, what she did, how she did it, where she went, everything. Because no one knew as much as I did. That's what he said in his head. And no one could do it as good as I can. So what are we going to do? We can only reach a certain limit and then we explode. We can't do it. We can't do everything ourselves. So the point is, when we reached that, I mentored this individual, and I took him around about a year to entrepreneurial events, to speakers, to self-limiting belief coaches, we're our biggest enemy, all these things to try. And he tried desperately. I led the horse to the water, but I couldn't force it to drink, and I couldn't make him conscious and aware of what was going on, although he did know on some days. So after about a year and a half of attempting this, constant failure, working 70 hours, 80 hours a week, this constant thing that in his head that said, no one can do it as good as I can. He eventually quit and walked out the door, walked away from him. His wife divorced him, by the way, walked away from the business, walked away from the partnerships, walked away from everything and said, I give up. I can't make the change. So, that's another story. He gave up. And other people, like alcoholics, drug addicts, wife abusers, everything, they constantly try to change, they try to fix things, but they can't. Some people can go through a cycle of going in and out of rehab for 30 years. Some bosses could be tyrants and jerks. And I had my own change about 7 years ago. I'll tell you about that another day, where I walked into my office and my team completely walked out on me. and I changed. I'd like to say in a day. But so the point is this: how do we change? Does it take pain? Does it take a train wreck? Do we have to lose everything before we make that change? So I read a lot of books, audiobooks, of course, and I listen to a lot of people and thought leaders online and everything like that. So from the words of Tony Robbins, pain and pleasure, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, he says we associate things with pain, we associate things with pleasure, and that's how change occurs. So give you an example on his wisdom is, have you ever had a food that you loved, that every time your brain associated it with pleasure? Have you ever had a liquor or a beer or whatever that you absolutely loved and associated with pleasure? But then came that day or that night where you drank too much of it, you ate too much of it, and you got sick, and you got real sick. And the next day you woke up and you said, there was so much pain, and your brain said, I will never drink that drink again, or that favorite liquor again, or I will never eat that food again. And to this day, you cannot drink or eat that food again. Why? I'm sure some of you have had that experience. I've had that experience with Southern Comfort and apples. I can't eat apples or drink Southern Comfort again. My brain, what it used to associate with pleasure, I caused myself so much pain that I changed in one day, and my brain changed to associate those two items with pain instead of pleasure. And I can never go back. I don't have an urge to go back or anything. So it's interesting that pain can be a huge leverage point in change. But do we need to go through a train wreck? Do we have to lose everything? Our businesses, our families, our children? Do we have to go through that pain? I don't think so. In today's world, in emotional evolution, we understand that if we become conscious and aware, we can make that change. But it's difficult. And I think that the jury is still out on change. So, and even myself, I had made that change. I had that train wreck day. I had that eye-opener, that wake-up call. But it's still a battle. And I am a completely different person today. And it was that 2x4 to my head that did it to me. But every once in a while, I regress and become that mean tyrant of a boss, which in the end doesn't improve performance and it doesn't leave a mark for Jerry, right? I want to lead and inspire. True leadership is when you give it away and inspire others to lead, right? And when you walk away, they continue leading. That's leadership, not a tyrant. So this video is going to leave you with questions. How do you change in one day? Will you continue to believe all the things that hurt you, your internal enemy, your self-limiting beliefs that drag you down? Will you change in one day? Will there be that much pain that has to do with it? Will you slowly change? Will you never change? Will you live your life on autopilot? Do you want to live your life the whole way through? Do you need that wake-up call, that train wreck? I say no. I hope not. And I hope by watching this video, I planted a little seed that we create our own realities. No matter how difficult it is, you have the ability to do what you believe to do. If you believe you can change in one day, truly believe it. You don't need to feel the pain to lose it all to make that change. I believe if you have self-determination, and I believe if you have self-discipline, and I believe if you're conscious and aware, number one, of what's going on in your head, what your enemy is, you can change. Create your own reality. Be self-determined. Believe you can change in a day. Believe me, it'll change your life. And I hope this video planted a couple seeds for people and changed theirs. I love you all. See you later. Whoop. There it is.